Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little bit of housekeeping to begin with. So phones to silent, as usual, and the fire escape is just to our right. There's no expected fire drills, so if we do get an alarm, it's for real, but let's hope we don't, of course. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm the founder and managing director of OTT, and my name's Julia Fuel. And firstly, I'd like to thank Ian from Discover the World for sponsoring today's coffee and breakfast. So thank you very much, Ian, for your participation. It's brilliant. So we know that digital technology is profoundly changing consumer behaviour. For example, as consumers, we browse and shop online, we connect with friends online, and share our views and thoughts through posts on social media. But what about the B2B space? How is technology shaping the communications between suppliers and their clients and business partners? When it comes to our own industry, the travel industry, how have technologies disrupted our traditional channels of communication? How do travel agents find the information they need to do their jobs? How do digital formats compare to more traditional formats such as lunch and learn, face-to-face events? And what formats do travel agents actually prefer? How effective is digital content when it comes to gaining product knowledge? And how can we help the agents to sell more, which is the critical question we all want to know. These were the questions OTT set out to answer in order that we might, 1, understand our members better, and 2, develop better business strategies because we wanted the data to inform and drive our business decisions. And so OTT commissioned Spike, a well-known data analysis and marketing company, and some of you may know John and Roy, so they could survey our members and ask these important questions. And the results were surprising. So surprising that we thought you might want to learn about them yourself. So I'm so pleased to see so many of you here. It really is a great turnout. And after we've heard from Spike, we're actually going to hear from Dave Pope, who is our Sales and Marketing Director, and he'll be interviewing Dominic Tucker from Norwegian Airlines. We're not really interviewing, having a chat. Dominic Tucker from Norwegian Airlines, and also Jenny Carr from Silver Travel, which is a very niche travel agency market, to get their views, which is great. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay for the whole event, I'm going to confess now. My son is graduating this afternoon at lunchtime, so I need to run off down to Portsmouth. But I'm looking forward to reading your feedback forms and perhaps catching up with some of you a bit later on your views and what you thought, and certainly wanting to hear what you think. So, so there we go, sorry about that. So without further ado, I'd now like to hand you over to John and Roy from Spike.
Good morning. Thank you, Julia. We're very excited to be working with OTT. I mean, this has been a project that's encompassed both analysis of consumer behaviour, so seeing what it is that how people consume the training, but also research, going out and asking them specific information, who they are, what their thoughts are around the industry, and in particular, what their thoughts are about training, how they value it, how they use it, what they want more of, and how we can make training even better for them. And really, what we found overall is a confident and motivated group of people who are very keen to learn, and you know, we get a real feeling of kind of resurgence of the role of the travel agent. So what we have is a unique insight into the views of 1,000 travel agents. And I'm going to keep it relatively simple in terms of structure. So we're going to look at who responded, so what the profile is of all those people that responded to us, where they work, where they came from, how long they've been working in those industries, what they told us. And again, you know, we can only kind of scratch the surface in a presentation like this. There's a whole resource of depth of information that we've now got that OTT can use and disseminate at other times as well. And then some interpretation of what this all means. So, you know, what does it mean about the industry? What does it mean about what they want out of training and how much they actually value it? So, back to the headline, really, 1,000 responses is a very substantial sample of the whole travel agent base. And we were very encouraged by the response rates that we've got and the depth of information that people were willing to share with us. So I don't think we've got any concern about how robust the sample is, and particularly that we filtered that to be UK only, because the OTT base includes quite a lot of international travel agents. So we said, okay, let's filter that survey. So we've got answers from abroad, we've got answers that can be analysed there, but we're looking specifically at the UK. And we also tracked where those responses came from. So we could look and map out exactly where those agents were distributed. And that's a relatively straightforward heat map. So the redder it is, the more there are. And it pretty much matches the distribution of population, I'd say. But, you know, there's agents from around the country there that have responded to the survey and given us the information. So, what did they look like? 28% male, 71% female. As with all modern surveys, we also give people the option to not be gender specific. We had actually one person that ticked the box for other, but they didn't actually write in to tell us what they considered themselves. But generally, 70% female, 28% male. And we can split the data down by that to see how those different groups respond and how they feel about training in general. But we feel that's pretty representative. In terms of ages, as one might expect, not very many 17 or younger, and not very many 75 or older. Although we probably, you know, there's some of the older owners and, you know, people in that end of the age spectrum there as well. Key ages 35 to 54, and that pretty much matches the working population of the UK. And some of the later analysis we do actually split it down by age to see what the different views and opinions are of people kind of over 45 and under 55. But a good representative sample. We asked them what sectors they worked in, and that's basically ranked from the size of the largest to the smallest. So the largest sector is independent leisure agents, down to mice at the far end there. So we've got tour operators, we've got quite a lot of home workers, independent business agents, and so on and so forth. Again, we can split the data by that. For this presentation, we haven't. The size of the company, again, decent spread there. The largest proportion of people were working in businesses with 200 and more staff, although we've got a good spread from small 1 to 10 employees, and 11 to 50, 51 to 100, 100 to 200. So their experience, we also asked them, how long have you been employed as a travel agent or within a tour operator? They're pretty experienced. You know, there's a lot of people there that have been in this industry for 9 years or more. They're not necessarily in the same job. They may have moved round. But, you know, we're talking to people here who aren't, you know, starting out in their careers. They're people who are experienced and are getting the benefit of training throughout their career. Sector headlines, we're calling this section. The first thing we wanted to do really was find out a little bit more about what they thought about the industry they're working in and what they think's happening to it, how they feel about it, what's going to be happening in the future. So we asked them a number of questions about the sector. So from the left-hand side, we've got the percentage of people that agree or strongly agree that travel encourages and supports diversity. 80% is a pretty good representation. You know, people are feeling that it's a good place to work. 72% say it's trusted by the public. which, if you look at some other sectors, is not the case. If you look at financial services, that's quite a lot lower than that. 71% of travel agents believe it's a growing sector. You know, they're confident about what's going on there. 60% say it promotes sustainability, which again is pretty positive given some of the negative press around airlines. 54% say it was a better place to work in the past. And what we haven't shown here is the age breakdown on that. People who are older tend to think it was a better place to work in the past. There's a bit of a nostalgia effect going on there. 65% believe that it understands its customers better than other sectors. That's, again, a very positive response. 50% say that it values the people that work in it, which isn't too great, but you know, we may not be overly surprised by that. But that's kind of countered by the fact that almost 90% say, you know, the people who work in travel love to travel. They are enthusiasts and they understand their industry and they enjoy working in it. In terms of what they see happening in the future, only 26% said that Brexit has had a negative impact on bookings. 70% said, I think people will continue to spend more on travel and holidays. Again, you know, it's a good place to be. 82% value people, 82% of travel agents believe that people value the advice given by travel agents. Again, a very positive response. 51% are saying Google's good for the travel industry, and that was trying to tease out, you know, how embedded they are in the whole kind of technology. And actually, yeah, you know, 51% thinks whatever's going on there is a good thing, but only 39% say the travel industry leads others with technology. And, you know, overall, I think there's some very positive things to come out there, but that we could also be looking more at advancing the technology within travel, I think is an important area to look at. When we asked them more specifically about training, we had 89% had taken at least one OTT course. We had a few people that had registered but not taken courses, but generally this is an audience that's engaged. And the big question we ask people in these environments, and you've probably seen this question elsewhere, is how likely would you be to recommend OTT to a colleague? This is called the Net Promoter Score, and you'll see it a lot in customer satisfaction surveys. And the basic form of the question is, how likely would you be to recommend whatever it is, Virgin Trains, Wetherspoons pubs, you name it, you can put the brand in there, and how likely would it be to do that to a friend or colleague? You're then asked to score it between 0 and 10, and the reason that scale's there is, the reason the 0's there is because it doesn't confuse people into thinking that 1 is the best you could give. So 0 to 6 are known as detractors, 7 and 8 are known as passives, and 9 and 10s are known as promoters. The Net Promoter Score is calculated by subtracting the percent of detractors from the percent of promoters. It looks a little bit complicated, but it ends up with a very simple score, and that score is used across industries, and you can compare and benchmark what your score is against a similar set of businesses or sectors. So what we found out was that the OTT Net Promoter Score is 64. So if you took that calculation, had the 9s and 10s minus the 0s to 6s, we ended up with a score of 64. Now, I can tell you that's a good score, but you need not take my word for it, because we've got some comparisons against that as well. So if you look at what does a score of 64 mean, overall as an industry, the technology industry, and that includes the likes of Apple, gets a Net Promoter Score of 60. Overall, travel and hospitality gets a score of 49. And if you look at some specific brands within the travel and hospitality industry, TripAdvisor gets a Net Promoter Score of 46, TUI 45. I mean, these are all very good scores. Not quite as good as the OTT score, but they're still very, very good. KLM 43, Uber 37, Hotels.com 36, and United 45. As Spike, we have measured a lot of Net Promoter Scores across the travel industry, both within airlines, destinations, tour operators, and we've seen scores maximum of about 70 and a minimum of about -35. So, you know, there's some people not getting it right out there, but there's quite a lot of people who are doing well and improving the customer experience, really. We also asked people why they score OTT 9 or 10. And we gather a lot of verbatim comments, which kind of we do text analysis on, and we can gather sentiment and things. This is a relatively simple way to look at those text comments, a word cloud, and it's basically a picture of the words in there. And if you treat it like an impressionist painting, you can pretty much get out of it why people are saying they score OTT 9 or 10. It's knowledge, it's informative, it's easy, it's good. They've got a general feeling that that is what they're getting out of OTT. So a lot of positives there. And when we ask them to rate courses, again, you know, this scale is slightly deceptive because it's a 0 to 5 scale, and all you're seeing is really the differences from probably 3 to 5. But you know, people like the ease of use. And they also like the fact that it's up to date and they're getting sources of new information, lengths of courses, visual design, relevance to job, positive too. But the big thing is the ease of use. We also asked more general questions about training and how much of the product training they get. So we asked them, do you think the amount of product training offered to you by your company is? 73% said about right. Which, kind of look at it on the surface, you think that's quite positive, but you've got you know, almost 25% saying they're not getting enough training. And if you look at some of the data that's coming up, the importance of training for people to be able to do their job and to be able to sell better, that's 25% missed opportunity for them to be able to progress their careers, for them to be able to do their jobs better and to be able to sell more. We asked people, how important is product training to be able to do your job professionally? Again, this is using one of those net promoter calculations, net calculations, a massive 74. So the vast majority of people believe product training enables them to do their job professionally. Very few of them would disagree with that. And we split that down also by where they worked. So, you know, which types of job, which types of employed, is it more important to them to have the product training to do their jobs properly? I mean, it's important everywhere, really. But if you look at home workers, probably, you know, that's explanation, and those working in tour operators as well. But, you know, even the lower scores, so the independent leisure agent, 67, is very, very positive. So that is about doing the job professionally. Also career progression. So, you know, I'm doing my job day to day professionally, but I also need training because actually I want to be able to progress in my career. And again, a very positive response here. The net score up at 58. 67% of people scoring it 9 and 10 to say, actually, this is an important part. It's a strong motivator for me to take product training because I know it's going to help in my career progression. 91% of our responders said that product training helps them sell more. And if you take that almost as a, you know, it's a triple. It is, I need it to do my job, I need it for my career progression, and it helps me sell more. I think it's, you know, a very strong triple lock on training to be able to deliver against the needs of travel agents. We also asked them what they wanted to see more of, and again, another word cloud coming out there, destinations. All you destination people out there, they want to see more destinations. Airlines, cruise, etc., etc. But the stuff that's coming out there is, you know, pretty much destinations and airlines as the major pieces that they want to see more of. Most courses are incentivized, and we asked people, how likely would you be to take a course if it weren't incentivized? 81% told us that they would take a course even if no incentive were offered. Our view on incentives is actually, I wouldn't take them off because that's what people say, not what they do in this instance. And an incentive is often, you know, it's a way to make people do something now rather than put it off till the next day or the day after. But still, very positive. And we split that by age. So incentives tend to matter less with age. But even so, 77% of under 45s would still take a course without an incentive. But once you're over 45, 86% would then take a course without an incentive. You know, it's kind of, they're not doing it for the incentive. We then drilled into how they want to consume training. 74% of responders who expressed a preference said they preferred online training over face-to-face. And there's reasons coming out for that later that you can understand why they would want that. We look at the different sources of product information. How important to improving your product knowledge are the following sources of information? So this is the importance of the different channels. Online training courses up at 94%. Lunch and learns down at 41%. Social evenings. I mean, social evenings, the other elements there, events, roadshows, recommendations from other agents and so on, are pretty positive, but, you know, I think the online comes out very, very strongly there. We also wanted to understand whether their company had a learning management system. And 36% said yes, 40% no, and 23% didn't know. So we've got about 36% of businesses with a recognized learning management system. We then wanted to find out those that had a learning management system, how they rated that. So how useful do you find this system? Okay, I'd say. It's, you know, they're doing all right. 21% don't like it at all. 35%, bit nay, kind of, you know, it's not that great. And then you've got 43% who do appreciate the learning management system that's given to them. But if you look at, you know, what businesses are supplying, if you've got 36% having a learning management system, of that 36%, less than half feel like it's a very good system. So, you know, kind of, there is a gap there, really. Other statements about training. So, starting with, I enjoy taking training courses. 92%, very good. I mean, it's a very positive picture. 55%. My company provides most of my training needs. No, it doesn't. 45% in effect are saying that the company doesn't provide the training needs. 95% say that supplier courses are an important source of information. 90% agree that it keeps me up to date with my product knowledge. And then a slightly cheeky one to see how well these people are being managed. My manager plans my training, 20%. In a way, you know, it shows a level of self-starting and motivation amongst the travel agents that, you know, even if they're not being told what to learn, they are finding these courses and motivating themselves because they understand career progression, selling, and the ability to do the job are all very important. We got them to rank each source of product information from favorite to least favorite. So this is a slightly, you know, we've got importance, and then we've also got how they want to consume training. And what this shows, online training courses at the top, and then recommendations from other agents at the bottom. Not everybody favors online training courses, so the kind of orange to the left of the line there is the people that are saying, well, actually, it wasn't my favorite. But for most people, their favorite form of training is online, followed by events, product roadshows, social evenings, lunch and learns, and then recommendations from other agents, which you know, is valuable, but not actually the most preferred way of gathering product information. So if they preferred online training, we asked them why. And the big thing that's coming out here is ease, the quality of the information, and time. And it's not just the efficiency of the time it takes to take the course, it's the efficiency of being able to do it where and when you want, rather than having to go somewhere to do it. So it's the convenience linking with the time, and it's a very efficient way to improve your understanding and learning. In summary, what we have is travel agents are confident in what they offer to the market and confident for the future. They recognize the value of training to their jobs and to their career progression. Online training is seen as the most important and is crucially also the most liked. And these people are motivated by knowledge and understand exactly what it can do for them. Thank you.
Julia said, my name's Dave Pope, Sales and Marketing Director at OTT. So I'm a new old face for the business, and finally been able to come out of the cupboard today after being hidden away for the last few months. That's a long story, and I'll tell you about another day. Thank you, Roy, so much for that great information, great research, that I hope we all find informative and useful, especially how we plan the next sort of year and beyond about how we interact with the trade. I know it's given me a few ideas that I can adopt. Now, to continue with this theme, I'm going to invite a couple of people up to the stage. We're going to have a bit of a question time thing. So Jenny from Silver Travel and Dominic from Norwegian Airlines. If you'd like to give them a round of applause, please. Thank you very much. We've done a Graham Norton type thing where they sort of move down the sofas there. There's no alcohol now. Well, there is here. But, okay, so what I'm going to do is just ask a few questions. Start with Jenny to ask a few questions from an agent point of view, and then move over to Dominic. And then after that, we'll have a Q&A, so we'll open it up to everybody. And so you can ask questions to anyone on the panel, or me, any of the OTT team who are around somewhere. Hello. So any questions at all, and then at the end, I'm going to hand over to Ian Murray, and then we'll close and have some more coffee. So, Jenny, shall we start off with you? So, do you want to tell us a little bit more about Silver Travel? As an older person, I'm sort of interested.
So, hello. Silver Travel Advisor is a travel reviews and information website, and we primarily deal with people over 50. So that is indeed Dave and I, and one or two others in the room. We've been running for 6 years now, and what we do is we also provide a marketing platform for tour operators, cruise lines, that kind of thing. We're dealing constantly with members of the public. Particularly, we offer a personal service. So if somebody wants to get information, we will signpost them. And what I was talking to Dave a little bit earlier, what we find often happens is that people who are the sandwich generation, so people like me in their mid-50s who've got kids, but also aging parents, are trying to balance all those elements in a holiday situation, in a travel situation. What are we going to do with grandma? But we've got the kids. I've even had people whose kids have got kids who are sort of early 60s. You know, how's that all working? So those things we're finding are really, really important. What have we got? We've got 70,000 members now, and we issue newsletters to 55,000 every month. So we're very pleased with that, and I know quite a few of you have worked with us in the past on particular projects.
Thank you, Jenny. So what product training do you currently receive from suppliers, and what, in your opinion, is missing?
Well, as we're providing signposts, if you like, we get a lot of information when we first work with people. I get a lot of press releases, but that's not always quite enough. Sometimes I want a lot more detail. And I think that our clients, if you like, the people we're working with, particularly people over 65, not wanting to be too judgmental, love detail. It's simply not enough for me to say we're going on a 5-day cruise on the Mekong. No, no. We need a lot more detail than that, and it's the detail that we're consistently looking for. So I can ring up a tour operator or a cruise line and get a lot more detail, but I think it would be very good to have that concisely available at our fingertips at any point.
Great, okay. So with your customers in mind, what specialist information do your customers need to know about?
Detail, as I've said. Also, I think as people are getting older, they want to know about mobility. They want to know, can they have a room on the ground floor? Can they have a shower that's a wet room that they can just walk into? Something that I was recently asked about, which was interesting, somebody who's got a little bit of a mobility issue doesn't want to go to a buffet because actually carrying something whilst trying to walk is dodgy. So we need an awful lot of information around that. These people have got a lot of money. They've got 80% of the nation's wealth, disposable income. So it really is worth us being able to service them and you know, come up with the answers for their questions. And I think that's perhaps where it's very good for travel agent training, that people who are answering the phones actually know the product inside out.
Right. How can suppliers address this?
Well, you know, we do get good information, and for example, Shearings have a special assistance desk that I can ring straight through to get information about almost every trip, you know, every hotel. And in a way, if you are looking at the older market, that's a great reassurance, not only for travel agents, but for people who are booking directly as well. They love that because it means you've thought about them and you're interested in them. So, you know, get one going is what I would say. Yeah.
Right, okay. And from a training point of view, when's the best time of the week, day and times to actually do training?
Well, never on a Monday.
Never on a Monday, yeah.
To be honest, I mean, the concept of online training is great because it means you can do it when you want to. Some people will get in an hour earlier, some people will stay a bit later. I think, you know, we do run training courses occasionally for people who want to learn more about the older market. But I know that they'd be more successful perhaps if they were online, which means that people have choice. And it's all about choice, I think.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Jenny. Just need to go on your mailing list.
Don't worry.
Thank you. Over to Dominic now. Dominic, do you just want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing at Norwegian?
Yeah, I manage the UK and I sort of sales, I suppose, presence and strategy for Norwegian. So we've got 16 long-haul routes out of the UK and Ireland currently, probably more to come, judging by the fact we keep announcing every couple of weeks. And we've got quite a lot of routes flying to Scandinavia and Europe, and Southern Europe. And my role is basically to manage sort of the trade sales strategy and look for sort of corporate opportunities and just make sure as many people as possible are aware of our products and services with the, I suppose, limited resources we have at hand.
Cool, thank you. How do you currently deliver training to your specialist agents and partners?
It's, I suppose, quite ad hoc. The way we do things, we don't have the largest sales team, and that's where OTT, giving you a plug, is really handy for us because there's only, yes, a small number in the sales team. Trying to fit in around other airlines, around sales when they're busy is quite hard. When we sign new deals, we put wording into the contract that there's obviously training needs to come on within a certain period of time, and also the OTT training course needs to be disseminated and completed by at least 80% of their sales staff. So that's quite straightforward. New deals, existing deals, it's very ad hoc, and personally the OTT thing really works for us because we've got a simple online course that takes 20 minutes to complete, which, given our size and the context of other airlines who are bigger than us, who fly to different destinations, is probably appropriate for our needs.
Great. And who do you say are your most engaged agents, and why would that be?
Personally, it's the specialists, all the big consolidators, because we don't have any back-end agreements, any agents in the UK or Ireland. So there's no, I suppose, money biasing anyone's opinion on who to sell. It's the specialist guys who want to make a difference to their customers, want to give them something interesting for Norwegian. You know, we're not for everyone, and we hope that agents offer us up alongside the other airlines. But it seems for us that the specialist guys are the ones who are really enthusiastic with our destinations, our new fleet. Maybe the fact we've got Wi-Fi and short haul, they seem to be the market that have really, I suppose, taken to Norwegian more than the traditional channels, the consolidators.
Okay, thank you. And how does Norwegian communicate with the global travel trade audience?
It's probably three ways. So one is actually using the OTT network, because you've got quite a good database globally. We have a really good media desk that do a media team that do updates. Again, it does feel like every day at the moment there's something going on about Norwegian. Thankfully, mostly good, but at the moment. So we tend to sign up agents to that, sort of not everyone, but sort of product managers or some of the key sort of salespeople. We do a monthly agent update, but that's run out of Norway, and it's not that relevant. So actually, we tend to email stuff, myself and a colleague, any news, and also update the OTT, which has live feeds to our site for news.
And what does the future hold for trade interaction from Norwegian?
It won't change. I mean, our distribution strategy isn't going to change. We are quite happy with where we see our trade sales coming from. We don't particularly want to go down an NDC environment. We'll probably be compliant, but we're not going to be... We're not too dependent on the trade, which isn't a bad thing because it means it's not an area, a target for us. So we want to grow that, and especially in new markets like the UK, where we get a much higher proportion of trade sales than, say, in Norway. We want to grow that and get more yield. I mean, for us, the yield we get from the trade is higher than we get direct. So I want to continue that. For me personally, it's growing the UK sales team to actually take advantage of opportunities that I know we're missing at the moment.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the grilling.
Yeah.
Now, what I'd like to do now is to sort of open up, to have a general sort of Q&A for everybody. Now, I do have a roving mic guy. Somewhere was Will. Will's just come back from Israel. Will's our roving mic guy. Now, the questions can be addressed to anyone, to me, the OTT team, who may have to give me backup, to the guys from Spike, or indeed Dominic or Jenny. So if you want to pop your hand up, and Will will find you with a microphone. Anybody like to have any questions? Will? Be sharper than that.
Hi, thanks. It's Andy Grodecki from Japan Airlines here. Thanks, first of all, for a really enlightening, interesting session. Some really good, solid facts coming out, and interesting comparative data. I think for me, a question which I'd like to see defined, or the statement more clearly, which I don't think has come out yet, is that it was made, I think, at the very start, and maybe addressed to you, is that you say that agents are very, they recognise the importance of selling, but define selling. What do they think selling actually means? Do they think selling means order taking? Or, how do they define selling? Is it offering an alternative to what people usually book proactively? Is it doing it reactively? And I haven't seen that answered so far, and that's really, really important.
That's a good question. I think probably use a lot of my past experience to answer that as well. If you define sales as exchange of goods for money, if you look in the dictionary, and I think selling it's that, and it's with travel, especially with agents, it's how you get there. So the whole sales process is much more about influencing, persuading. It's about rapport building, relationship building, regardless of what you're selling. And I think the actual sales part, it's the end bit. So I think with the product training, however you train it, it's not just about the product, but also it's who would this suit? What type of customer? We go back to what Jenny was saying, what type of customer would this suit? And also, if we're looking at it from a revenue point of view, how could we or persuade someone to move from economy to business? You know?
Is that question that the agents were asked or not?
Were they asked? I don't know. I'll hand over to Spike for that.
No, we were more specifically looking at training issues and some of their views on the sector, not exactly how they go about selling things, but I think it's a very interesting question.
That's where you start from before you start asking anything. Because people define selling in a different way.
Yeah. I think you have
an opportunity for more research, I think.
I think you're right. I think we have within the trade, and I've been in travel for over more years than I can care to remember, but nearly 30 years, and I think there is still, I'm probably digressing slightly, there is still an opportunity to address sales skills. So it's okay providing product training, but it's having the skills to go alongside that. And also, from today, it may be something we look at to bring that in and say, right, here's Japan Airlines, here's our product, wonderful product, but here's how you sell it. Here's how you, let's be honest, it's how you close the deal. So I think from travel, traditionally I think it's been seen as a soft sell industry over the years in some respects, depending on how you're remunerated, I guess. But yeah, I totally see that, but I think it's something for us to definitely look at. Thank you. Will?
Hi, hello, I'm Mladen from Slovenian Tourist Board.
Hi.
I'm just gonna put a reference on the gentleman's question I'm just going to talk from destination point of view. Yeah. So the training part 100% yes, all the 90% online, and then events, and then roadshows and all that, and that the last was it the recommendations from agents? Or one bit is missing is, I'm going to call it again, this from the destination point of view, is fam trips. And this all makes sense. However, reflecting to sales is the other way around. What reflects in bookings is highly fam trips, number one. Secondly, recommendations, and all the way down to around few percent from the online travel trainings. And again, saying from the destination point of view, and let's say mostly specifically from Slovenia. So you really want to know or need to know why you're doing what you're doing. So if it's raising awareness and being there in your head, then the technology is definitely the place to go. However, with technology comes information overload, which impacts negatively the booking process or the closing the deal process. However, fam trips is the number one for one reason. If a question comes up as very specific, oh, I was there, hotel is amazing. Yes, they have this and this type of staircase you can use if you're less mobile, and you close the deal.
I totally agree.
Thank you.
I totally agree. I think it needs to be a combination of both. You know, I think a combination of whether it's online learning, or whether it's fam trips, face-to-face. I think it's a combination, because you can never replace, well, at the moment you can never replace a fam trip. By the way, Slovenia is one of my favorite countries. Just thought I'd slip that one in. But also, the other day I had the benefit of being, and this is the future, I guess, with virtual reality. And I actually did a training session on VR. And it was about the US, it was about California. So 1 minute, I was actually on the plane. Yeah, I was soaring above business class. Not that I would be in business class, but I was soaring above, and it actually felt as I was in that seat. And the next minute, I was in the Grand Canyon. And I've been to the Grand Canyon, it was exactly the same. So I think, at the moment, yeah, FAMs are important. I think they'll always be there. But I think also in the future, I think virtual reality, from a training aspect, could actually not replace, but go alongside. If logistically fam trips can't happen, you can put the goggles on. Because the other day I was actually in California. I came off feeling a little bit dizzy, but that's nothing new. But I was actually there. I was actually there. Thank you for your question. Yes.
A big thing about doing the OTT portal was it was mixing our agent sort of support pages with general Norwegian info. So coming into a market where we're not a known player, people are maybe a bit unsure about selling us, and if in doubt, you'll default to EasyJet, you'll default to BA, Virgin, I get that. So for us, it was to reassure people and use it as a support tool rather than an education. And that's different for an airline, because it's like they've got to get the right GDS entries. Hotels, I totally get. They need to have the warm, fluffy bit. I remember that hotel, you want to ask for that view. That's great for us. It was almost like a checklist to help, which I think has been really useful.
And I think there are so many opportunities. I mean, Will has just come back from Israel, haven't you? Now, how do you, sorry, put you on the spot. How do you feel about the destination? How do you just come back yesterday? Okay. But I think it also opens up the opportunity of, like you said, having a blended solution where you have online learning and virtual learning. So actually you can contribute to the learning while you're actually traveling. You know, with the way that we use video and live feeds at the moment, you know, Will could have put a live feed onto an online course while he was there. And he kept popping up on my LinkedIn feed. But there's so many opportunities, I think, technology-wise, as we move the business forward, to achieve and integrate everything we do. Any other questions? Will?
Hi, Richard from the Cayman Islands. You actually started to answer the question just as I already put my hand up. But you mentioned VR being the next form, or new technology being the next form. But how does that develop then with OTT? Because how do we get 5,000 VR kits out to the travel agents? But what is the next step that you see OTT? So you've got the basic learning, but also considering the ease of learning being such a key point, and also the travel agents being restricted to maybe just having a desktop and not having any other tools at hand. So where do you see it?
It's good. It's a good question. I think it's important that we walk faster before we run. I think, even I use the example of VR. It's a way off, I think, although the technology is there. But you're right. You've got to find out the challenges of sending out 140,000 sets of goggles. But I think it's for the future. But I think there's things on that journey that will happen, that can happen before then. I think it's further down the road, but there's more we can do before we get to that point, I think. But definitely, we have a plan to develop what we're doing from a technology point of view as we move on, definitely. But I think VR is great, but it's not going to happen tomorrow,
So what is the next steps then? So you mentioned like live streaming. Is that something that is possible, in a year's time? Is that something that you see quite soon, doing maybe a training live streaming on OTT that the destination or an airline could potentially do, live, I guess? Is that something that's been looked at?
I think that the team will probably tell you that I get a bit carried away sometimes. So now is probably time for me to rein myself in a little bit, because otherwise I'll be floating around on the ceiling. I think for the moment, I think we need to concentrate in just improving what we have from a sort of a template layout point of view, and then do it in stages. I'm not going to announce any big secrets today, but I think we have a 2-year plan from a development point of view where we can start. And also, days like this, and we've got to start talking to our clients more. And that's something that we're going to be doing from now, is start talking and listening to our clients more. But we have plans. I don't want to give too many details today, but we have plans. But we need to do it slowly. I've been told to slow down. Any other questions? Well.
I'm Anne-Marie. I work for the Caribbean Tourism Organization.
Hello.
One of the questions I would have liked to see defined was what motivates travel agents to sell a product or destination. I haven't seen that really come across in your research. Not sure if Roy would like to answer that or yourself.
You can start.
What's some of the things?
I can start. I'm sure the next time that we do this piece of research, it'll focus more in terms of those sales type questions. I don't know if you...
Yeah, I think from my point of view, again, going back on my experience with a client, it's sort of, to me, I don't want to start preaching too much, but with a client, you really need to start with a clean sheet of paper, and it's finding out what they actually want, what motivates them, how much they want to spend, type of experience they want, and how they want to feel when they get back. And I think from then, you then, with your knowledge, you should be able to match a destination to suit what that client wants. And I think, to me, it starts with that. And I think the motivation for the agent then is, again, maybe I'm being too simplistic, but the motivation for the agent then is satisfying the client. They've matched what they want with a product. And if that product is fresh in their mind and they know about it, they're probably more likely to promote it. And again, if it's for the Caribbean, for example, there's many different destinations. The one they're probably more knowledgeable about, they're going to probably push towards that, especially if they've been on a fam trip too. And they've done some learning. So if they, again, it's knowledge, I think, as well. There's a mix between what the customer wants and the knowledge that the agent has. Does that answer it?
What I see is trending at the moment is that a lot of agents, they've been driven by a lot of incentives, and depends on the targets they have in mind, which product, which company is giving away the biggest incentive. That's what motivates them to sell. I just want to know if there's anything else out there that's really driving other than incentives.
So it's a good question. Any thoughts, Dominic?
So we don't pay any agents any back in the UK, yet we still sell a lot. So customers are asking for our product. I think, again, it's matching the product. We're lucky we've got a new fleet. We have Wi-Fi. So I think it is in the instances of people booking us, there may be a necessity because we're the only airline flying there, but probably the more the reality is they're matching our product, and they can be, say, enthusiastic. It's a nice new plane, but they're just matching the customer's needs and saying, this is, you want this is a good price, and price is very key at the moment. So whether you've lost some money on the foreign exchange, you would then look at maybe a cheaper flight option. Maybe we've popped up. But agents seem to be tailor-making stuff more appropriately to the client this year, in my view, at least from our discussions. I think it's not necessarily, again, I was saying about the specialists, they are putting a lot more work in to get the bookings, and it's working.
I think also, I don't know what you think, Dominic, but also I think that the sector within travel may make a difference. It sometimes comes down to how you're paid, you know, and what type of, you know, whether you're, sometimes incentives to some people in trade are more important than others. You know, it may depend on what sector you're working into.
I've got a question. I'm from On at Holidays.
Hello.
Just a very quick one, just to define. We saw that a really good percentage of agents want to do online training, which is brilliant. And the other one was events versus product roadshows. Could you just define events? What was on that category? What an agent would define as an event? Because a product roadshow could be an event.
We didn't have the time really to go into great detail about what was encompassed in an event. So it was pretty much the events, roadshows as you saw it really. Again, I mean, if it's something that needs more detail, certainly, you know, next time.
Yeah, there's lots of obviously things that are offered to agents that our suppliers do, and that would be probably quite key to know exactly that. There's obviously events that are very engaged with agents that a product roadshow isn't, so it'd be great to know exactly what events really engage them.
I don't think the data supports that you wouldn't do events and roadshows. It's kind of saying, you know, if you compared them and you only had one to go for, you'd go for this, but in reality, you're going to do a combination of things.
I just didn't know whether you knew.
The ease of an event or a roadshow, it's not quite as easy as doing your online product training, but it's a more immersive experience.
It could be something like WTM or ITB or something like that.
That's the thing, it could be, you know, from an independent agent, it could be their conference. That's an event, you know, so it would be really great if at some point that is defined.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know if anyone else saw last week that Belize had a virtual expo. If you saw it, it was a whole day, and it was actually a virtual event, so you could sign up for the day, and it went from like 9 till 7, and you could actually request meetings, but it was like a virtual meeting with different suppliers all day. It's the first time I'd seen a virtual expo or virtual event, and I think, again, that's part of the future. You know, WTM's great, ITP's great, but if you can't get there, or you can't afford to travel, a virtual event can be the future, I guess, as well. But I won't go down that road. Any other questions?
Hi, Joseph from Riviera Travel.
Hello, Joseph, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Did you ask agents what their favourite course was on OTT? And if so, did your research back that up in terms of completed courses? And can you share the top, say, 3 courses so we can completely rip off what they're doing and make ours better?
Do you want to kick that off?
The answer to that is yes and no. We've done a different stream of analysis, which is looking at all the engagement and you know, which courses are completed, and you know, and timings and all that sort of stuff. We weren't really getting down to individual rankings on courses, but you know, you never know, there might be an award given at some stage.
Yeah, we'd be a little bit political about that, I guess, but yeah.
I think it varies actually with us. We've been in long haul 3 years. A lot of people didn't know anything about Norwegian, so our site has done well in the context of the fact there was no other information available.
Yeah.
So you could say, I mean, it's been a success for us, and that's our metrics. Other people who've been in the marketplace for a long time probably have more steady views.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dominic.
Yep. Got a very, very quick question for you, Roy. Some impressive numbers. Just curious, 1,000 agents that you surveyed, were they taken from an OTT database?
Yeah, they were. They were registered users of OTT. It was sent out to about 30,000 people, and we took 1,000 responses out of that. So, I mean, it is pretty representative of the whole universe. I think there's, you know, it's a 50% of all travel agents are going to be approached. So it's a pretty good sample, really.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's some good questions. I can relax a little bit now. Now, before we go, before we close, I'd just like to invite Ian Murray from Discover the World, who has an important date for your diaries. I shall step aside.
Morning. Yeah, lots of really good questions. Just brief background. So I'm Ian Murray. I work for Discover the World. We represent about 100 plus brands, 65 markets around the world. Our lifeline is the trade. Our customers, the trade. We are out there on behalf of our clients, being the client, selling to you guys, the travel trade, here in the UK and around the world. So we were really interested in this research. We work very closely with OTT. A lot of our training courses on behalf of our clients are on the OTT platform. And so we were really intrigued. And I think what happened when I had maybe the fortune to look at some of the data before I came here today was that I started having more and more questions. There's a problem with data, right? It raises more questions. And a lot of it actually was related to some of the questions that you guys asked just now, which is all about sales. What, you know, how are agents selling? What's the motivation to sell? And for me, it was more a question, well, what's going on? What's really going on? Now, I won't share with you which bar I was on the age thing, right? I just wish they could change the ranges a little bit. But I've been around long enough, and it wasn't that long ago, that I was going to the likes of a Focusrite and hearing that these booking engines, technology disruptors, were not good news for the travel trade, or the traditional travel trade. And there was a kind of a feeling that it was a bit of an endangered species, that things were going to go wrong. Why? Because as I was being told in the audience participation, the millennials coming on, they're young, they're intelligent, they're experimental, they're independent, and they've grown up with technology. So they're not going to talk to a person about booking a holiday. They're going to go straight there, go online, click, 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 I've got my dream holiday. So this was the feeling and the mood when you go to all of these great technology forums. Again, it is technology, so they are pushing the technology. But here in 2017, we think the reality is obviously different. I mean, look at all you guys here today for a start. And agents are definitely still here. In fact, there's evidence that they're growing in the UK, certainly growing globally. I can tell you from, you know, whether you go out to the Asian markets, the traditional travel agents still very strong, very dominant. But even in places like the US, the percentage of agents in the market is still roughly the same over 5 years. Even all those new technologies coming through, there's a hardcore element that is still there and thriving. It's just that they look different. And you guys are different. You've changed. Maybe you're not like the traditional agent of 10 or 15 years ago, but you're certainly here and very relevant. And the reason you're relevant is because you've adapted. You're selling niche, you're selling cruises, you're selling luxury, you're selling packages, you're doing personal service. And what we realise is that, or what I realised is that what's happening is the breadth of agent has stretched and the depth of product that's being sold has deepened, partly driven by the technology disruptors who are pushing more and more product out there. And really what's happened is that you guys, not just here but in markets around the world, have embraced the disruption, and you've found a way to work with it, to make it work and make it happen. And actually, the customer really likes that. He really enjoys it. He really likes the fact that he can get better service, better customer experience. Hasn't got the time, is really busy. Going onto these booking engines, trying to find your perfect holiday can be really complicated. If you want to go to Brazil and you don't speak the language, a little bit more nervous about booking a holiday online than if you want to speak to someone who's got that knowledge and that intelligence and the contacts to help that person have a fantastic time. You're spending a lot of money, so you want to make sure it's absolutely perfect. So I found myself, when I was sitting down with you guys, you know, I was just asking more and more questions about, well, what's really going on here? It's an agent evolution, and it hasn't really been spoken about. We get a lot of press, a lot of news about what's happening with Uber for Business, Flight Centre's now working with Airbnb, Expedia, Booking.com. All the guys are out there pumping out their news, and quietly and confidently, the travel agent is still around and still prospering and doing very well and adapting and changing. So what we'd like to do is take this another step further, and we'd like to invite obviously all of you back on the 2nd of October, which I get the right day, 2nd of October, back in here, so you'll know where it's going to be. And we want to bring together these clever travel agents that are proving the naysayers wrong and are using this technology and using products in a different way, in different niches and different industries, to offer more and more customer value, and are doing very well from it. So we're going to have together a lot of the travel agent community, a lot of suppliers, people we work with that are providing a lot of product to the travel agent, including the big disruptors. We work with Expedia, it's one of our biggest clients, big disruptor. 4 years ago, I think when we started off, maybe actually 6 years ago, when we went out to the travel trade and said, why don't you book through Expedia Tap? We thought no one's going to do it. Everybody hates Expedia in the travel trade. Actually now it's booming. So things have changed, and you've embraced it and you're working with it, and we love that. So we'd like to bring everybody back with some of these suppliers, with some of these great agents that are proving and rocking the boat and doing things differently, and get a dialogue going and talk a little bit more about what is sales all about, how are you selling, what are you selling, to who are you selling, and really try to help both the suppliers who are looking to get more share from this travel community and these customers of yours, but also for the travel community to have more opportunity to see what products are out there. How can you sell? What products can you use? How do you put things together? How do you package today? It's very different packaging today than it was 3 years ago. So we'd like to bring that together. We'd like to talk about destination. How important is it now to sell destination alongside selling a product? What does a customer really want to hear when they sit in front of a travel agent? Is it, I want to fly this product, or is it, I want to go there? How can you build me a brilliant experience? So we want to kind of test the ground and push the barriers and push the frontier a little bit and see if we can get some answers. And actually to, I don't know, put you guys, particularly the travel trade, onto a bit of a platform to say that things are good. Things are thriving in some areas, and actually there's more and more of a way back to customer value, face-to-face service, packaging, clever packaging, good value, and good experience. So we want to sort of bring all that together. So in your packs, we've got to save the date, which please just take a note of. Oh, you're picking them on the way out, are you? Don't look now. Yeah, they're on your way out, sorry. Okay. So basically that just gives you a little bit of a summary. Save the date, right? 2nd of October. We're going to make it the whole day because we're going to have enough speakers who can come in and talk to us and share with you, and have a lot more of these questions about what is sales about, how do we improve sales, how do you sell better products, etc. So I think the research that was done today has opened a door, really, for us to have a chance to talk in more detail. So we look forward to seeing you, and we want you to bring your ideas and bring your voices. It's not just a one-way street, we want it to be very much a dialogue, because it's a great opportunity to really celebrate some of the great stuff that's going on out there. So I look forward to seeing you guys on the 2nd of October. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Ian. Before we go, just a few thank yous. First of all, I'd like to thank the panel, the guys at Spike and Jenny and Dominic for contributing. Thank you. I'd also like to thank the OTT team, Natalie, Will, Sarah Lynn, Lisa and Louise, for making this happen. The last few days, they've been working like elves, you know, to put just simple things to make all this happen. So thank you for making this happen. A lot of hard work gone into it. And finally, I'd like to thank you all. I know you're all very busy. Your time is valuable. I know that. Thank you to have so many people turn out here today. It's been very encouraging, so thank you so much. And as I'm now officially out of the cupboard, you have my business card in your packs, which you'll collect on the way out. So please drop me a line. I'm available for coffee and lunch from today. So let's start talking to each other, yeah? Now on the way out, so the pack's on the way out. If you have, there's a little questionnaire there. If you can fill that in and also drop it in on the way out. Is that right, Nat? Yeah, okay. And we have coffees outside. Yeah? Thank you very much, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.